Man, good morning. So this is part 3 of my Hertz experience. It took me a little while to get this one out because, we ended up having a great vacation after all the BS was dealt with. But I kind of want to follow up with the follow-up to the story of Hertz. And no, while it was my issue was resolved, I will never, ever, ever rent a car from Hertz ever again for the rest of my life. So where we left off, at the moment I finished that last video, it was about 2 o'clock in the afternoon. Okay. I had been on the phone with them since 10 a.m. We were so tired when we got in. We didn't get into our place in Atlanta until about 4 o'clock in the morning, after everything that went down. So 10 a.m. on the dot, I'm calling Hertz, right? And all that time had passed. I had been listening to that stupid ass hold music the whole time. After I made that last video, and the last person that I spoke with was the American person, I was told I need to go to the Hertz counter. So I stopped listening to that hold music and I went back to the airport in Atlanta from Buckhead. And keep in mind, we were staying in Kennesaw. So in Marietta, but close to Kennesaw State University. This is kind of around the area we were at. So from Buckhead to the airport in rush hour traffic. So you remember, this is a vacation. If you ain't forgot, this is the first day of my vacation. And we are now driving back to the airport because apparently no one has cars, right? No one has cars. No one could do or was willing to do anything. And I kind of think it's a little bit of BS because, there's plenty of Hertz local rental stations and someone could have done something, right? And the thing that was done could have been done locally. I didn't have to go to the airport for this, but I'll explain what I mean. Get to Hertz, right? They tell me go to the counter. So I go back to the airport, go back. If you're familiar with Atlanta's rental, it's very, I've been in a few that are like that, where it's like a separate building, but it's like right next to the airport. And it's kind of like a multi-level thing. I've been to a few airports that are like that. So we go up to the 3rd floor, go to Hertz, explain the whole situation all over again. And this is now like the 7th time I've explained it. Now it's in person. She gets a manager and I explain it again. She tells me I need to go outside, downstairs. I need to take the car, turn it in, and go to the customer service counter. So I go to the counter. There's a young lady there. I'm not going to mention her name. I did ask if I could, and she said no. To respect her privacy. But what she ended up doing after I explained the whole situation, I told her that, this is what I ordered. It was not about the clout of a Tesla. It's just the Tesla is the Tesla Model Y in their fleet has the most cargo capacity, even more than some gas cars. I mean, we're talking, 500, 600, so 623 cubic feet of space, right? That's 3 times my car, my Chevy Blazer EV. So yes, that's the one I want because we're about to drive from Marietta to Melbourne, Florida. Okay. So she's like, well, we don't have any Tesla Model Ys. No real explanation. I didn't really ask. I was just like, hey, so what can we do? I need to fit all this luggage in here. She was like, well, I don't have any big SUVs, but we do have some minivans. I was like, look, minivans, cool. What can we do about the gas? Because I wasn't planning on spending money on gas. And she's like, all right, what I'll do is all I'm really authorized to do is zero out the gas. It's literally the most I can do. Well, no, she said, I can zero out the gas. I was like, cool, no problem. So she gives us the ticket and she handled it so quickly. And I kind of go back to why I thought the whole nobody has cars and it can't be done over the phone and all the people I talk to, I feel like that's BS because like I said, like I told the last person, this problem has a keystroke solution. And this person literally did this in seconds. When I say seconds, I explained everything that went down. She apologized first. That was the first apology I got all day. And then she's like, yeah, so minivan, boom, bang, bonk. We were in and out of there. From the end of my explanation, after about 2 minutes of talking back and forth, she keystroked that shit in like 20 seconds. And we were on our way upstairs. So get back upstairs, and there's the Hertz Gold thing. So I was like, you know what? I'm gonna ask one last time, just to be on the safe side, to say that I turned over every stone. That was the purpose, right? So I go in the Hertz Gold. It's also hot as hell outside. I'm on my morning walk. You see, it was hotter than this. It was over 100 degrees in that parking garage. So I said, let me just go in this little air conditioned thing, talk to this person. Oh, by the way, that girl works outside. Her customer service booth is in a booth outside. So the most patient person was also outside in the heat, which is also hilarious, because when I got in there and I talked to the guy, he was like, yeah, well, you know, the reason we don't have any Model Ys is because they're selling them off. I don't even know why they let you rent that. I was like, when did that start? November of last year. So when I booked this in February, I should not have been able to rent it, because in Atlanta, they do not rent Teslas. They don't. I could have, and for the record, even like I could have just rented the car in Maryland and just drove down to Georgia, because the amount of time it took us to get there was absurd. And I would have actually saved money. But, you know, hindsight is 2020, you know. That being said, my G, why are you telling me this now? This is crazy. And I was like, well, what EVs do you have? Because she just gave me a minivan. I just want to check if there's something that will fit our luggage, because I prefer to drive an electric vehicle. It's what I drive on a daily basis. It's what I understand the difference of driving a gas versus electric vehicle. I just prefer not to buy gas if I don't have to, right? We go look, they don't really have anything. And there was other lady there. Keep in mind, everybody in this booth is playing on their phones the whole time, which is so unprofessional. But she looks up from her phone to tell me that a fucking minivan is an upgrade from a Tesla Model Y. And I said, you know what? That's funny, because when I booked it in February, that was not the case. The minivan was significantly cheaper than the Tesla Model Y. It wasn't about price. It was about my luggage and the gas. I was willing to pay a little more for the car to not have to pay a little more for the gas, right? She was like, well, that's an upgrade. And I was like, no, it's not. My wife did. Tell her, was like, well, we're talking to this guy. It was pretty funny. My wife kind of let her have it. The chick with the green hair was a little rough. So this guy kind of, says nothing. And we go out. We're about to go pick up this minivan, and I spot a Chevy Silverado EV with a tonneau cover. You know what? That fits our luggage just right. And I was trying to figure out, well, how come nobody didn't offer that to us, seeing as you massively inconvenienced me for an entire day. The days of rental car companies doing something a little extra to keep their customer are gone. Because when I went back in there, dude was like, I gotta get a manager. So he gets a manager. This dude says nothing to us and takes us back down to the counter we just left to talk to the manager, who's sitting right next to the girl. She's like, listen, you gotta talk to him. I've done everything I could. She doesn't even know what's going on. And she made a joke. She was like, you just asking too many questions. I was like, baby, I gotta ask. She's like, I got you. We get down to the counter to the manager who's sitting there. And he's like, yeah, so here's the thing. The whole Tesla thing, he explained more in depth of why. Information I didn't need to know. The thing is, people were renting Teslas in Atlanta, not realizing that, it's not like renting, a Hellcat. You know what I'm saying? It's not like renting a Mustang. You have to think differently when you're driving an electric car. Also, Tesla, just hilarious, because Teslas will route you with charging in mind, for that matter, which is hilarious that people would have issues with this, but I get it. If you're clout chasing, you're not thinking about all that. Like, if you clout chase to buy a Hellcat, you're not thinking that it gets 8 miles to the gallon. You just want a Hellcat, right? You're not thinking that a Tesla needs to be charged and you have to go charge it, and you need to plan around your charging stops a little more efficiently. You just want to be in a Tesla, right? Cool, I get it. And what was happening is that the Teslas were being rented, people were returning them in a day with no charge, and then they were trying to use them for Uber and Lyft, And I don't know if you've ever been in a Tesla. No offense to anybody. My best friend, one of my good friends, owns a Tesla. Owns 2 Teslas, but I would not recommend those. If you're personally owning a Tesla to run as a Uber or Lyft, that's for you. But to rent it, where people don't have any real incentive to take care of it, it's not the build quality is not for that. So, hence the one that they tried to rent us with the panel falling out of the side. That's why, right? Again, that makes sense to me. Didn't need that information. You could, just knowing that they were being sold since, last year was enough, right? But he explained the whole situation. I was like, you know what? Thank you for the explanation. I appreciate that. I was like, and he was like, as far as the Silverado EV, that's not a car that we rent for out-of-state travel. You're returning to Orlando. So you can't take that to Orlando because it's only local only. Man, do you know that makes sense to me? Okay, anybody could have just explained that. I don't know why I need to go back downstairs for that. That makes sense to me. It's a $100,000 truck. Let's just keep it real, right? It wasn't the work truck version either. It was a black one. It wasn't a work truck. It was the black LT, right? So, again, that makes sense. Just say that, my G. Why'd I have to go all the way downstairs for that? Just a little cherry on top of the inconvenience. We get the minivan. This minivan is dirty as hell. This shit was dirtier than the damn EV6 they gave us the night before with the mud skeets all over the damn dash. There was hay and sawdust and dirt everywhere. I put the seats down. I was like, I don't even want to put my luggage, the outside of my luggage, in this dirty vehicle. But you know what? I said, lesson learned. I'll never, for the record, I've rented from a cheaper brand rental company, and the car was cleaner. The car was almost brand new the way it was cleaned with the same mileage, 40,000 miles on the clock. So, just a dirty ass car. We went on our trip. We drove down. I realized that first tank of gas was the only free gas I was going to get. So we, essentially hypermiled in that, so about 3/4 of hypermiling all the way down to Florida. Added about 30 minutes to the trip. But I was able to do the whole thing. Like, we actually had to stop to go to the bathroom and not stop for gas. It's because I was driving it right at 60 miles an hour the whole way, and doing a lot of coasting and just trying to conserve as much gas and not burn as much gas as possible. I think I had to put $50 worth of gas in there again, because hypermiling. If I drove the way I normally drive, I'd have spent more. But yeah, I conserved as much as I could. But shout out to the young lady at customer service in Atlanta. If you ever fly into Atlanta and you're returning your car there, you'll know exactly who I'm talking about. She is a sweetheart. She's got that typical Atlanta demeanor. That's where I was born. So, super polite. Got jokes for days. She was awesome. Shout out to her. Shout out to her manager. Both had to sit in that hot ass booth all day. And everyone else, they can suck it because everybody else sucked. Everybody else sucked in this situation. And therefore, I will never, ever, 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 ever rent from Hertz again in my life. If my company tells me I need to go to the Hertz counter, I'm going to find a way not to, because that is a waste of money, because that was terrible. That was terrible. Another thing, shout out to the manager. He kind of hit me to something else. And this situation is not a one-off, it's institutional. So the new CEO of Hertz basically took the power away from everyone to do anything except for a manager at the counter. And even then, his powers are limited. All the Teslas and electric vehicles in their fleet, they're going to sell all of them off because they don't know what they're doing. And so instead of fixing the system and, maybe don't overbuy on Teslas, basically the issues that they bought too many Teslas. They signed they let Elon con them into a much bigger contract than they were willing to spend. And they're getting a better deal with Chevy. So you'll start seeing a lot more Bolts in their fleet. And Equinoxes will start showing up soon. And for trucks, you'll have the option for the Silverado, but Teslas are pretty much on their way out. It hurts. But the new CEO is solution to the problem is dump all the Teslas and basically ruin customer service. Because, and I will quote, the whole time on the phone call used to be linked to an actual timer, and when they disconnected said timer, the default says 10 minutes. So every time you call them, it's going to tell you 10 minutes, but you could be waiting for 2 hours, but it's going to tell you 10 minutes. And to quote the person, I'm not going to say it's the CEO, but I'm going to quote the person that told me the intent of doing that was for people to hang up the phone and just deal with the issue, because the number of times they get customer service calls versus the number of times that they have versus the number of rentals they have is small enough where they're okay with losing that percentage of their business. So, I know I don't have a whole lot of followers at this point. I'm not, again, if you find this video, great. If you don't, you're probably not even hearing this. But if you do follow this video, take them up on that offer. Don't rent from Hertz. Just don't do it. They don't want you to, because if you have a problem, they're not going to try to fix it. They're just going to make your life more difficult. That's the whole plan. If I could have lived with the EV6, I'd have been just fine. But that was not what I rented. That's one. Two, and it just didn't work. If it worked, I wouldn't have had a problem. But it didn't work, and that was the problem. And no one seemed to even want to hear me, let alone do something about it. And I will quote what I said to the first non-Indian person or Pakistani person I spoke with over the phone, is that this issue takes a couple of keystrokes. And it seems like everyone I've talked to is unwilling or unable to do anything about it. And I put that in my text. I put that in my text conversation with Hertz. I put that on my, I put a review. I did, and I'm saying it here, like I've said it multiple times. It's not only did anyone not be able to do anything, I feel like they don't even really care if they could. And that's the way that it came off, especially the overseas people. They were the worst. They're like, listen, I deal, with customer service, you're gonna get call centers from all over the place. One dude started berating me in some sort of Indian language. I don't know what he was saying, but he did call me a dickhead. He called me a motherfucker, mother chode. If you don't know, that's what that means. This dude called me a mother chode on the call. It hurts. Let's go. Let's go. Hurts. I love Yvonne Orji, but shorty, like that company sucks balls. It's definitely right for a certain kind of person, but not for me. But yeah, that's my thing. Take what I say with a grain of salt. If you want to throw something in the comments or any details on this story or anything else I post, feel free to leave a comment. Eventually I'll get to it. But yeah, that's literally what happened. I needed like 2 weeks to decompress from the amount of BS that happened on that one day of my whole vacation. That one day, literally, that's how we started our vacation. That we had been planning for months and months and months and months and months and months, and spent a lot of money putting together for my family. And that's how it started. And they were just fine with that. Okay. So, Hertz, let's go. Everybody love everybody. Don't be a dick. All right.